Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook, 10:30 in the morning every single day, where we exchange headlines, stories, topics, comments, suggestions, and ideas on how to have an awesome life here in Puerto Vallarta as an English-speaking community. If you are new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we'd love to learn about you, and we'd love to learn that you're new here. So if you write the word new in your comments, it'll help us give you a proper welcome. But for the rest of us, it is always great to get together with people that we know and we've gotten to know better day by day, including Bill, who I happened to meet yesterday in person. And that was such a pleasure, Bill. It is always great to run into people from the Coffee and Headlines community in town. The only thing that I ask is that you please don't hold it against me if I could forget your names, because sometimes when I meet people, I get all nervous and I'm forgetful of names. But it is great to be here. It is great to be here on a Friday.
Thank God.
Enough of that. Let us see who's in the house. It's always a pleasure to say hello to all of you. I see that Amapas is in the house. I see that Yakima is in the house. Raymond, you're making me blush like a schoolgirl. Thank you very much. Minnesota is in the house. Toronto is in the house. Let's see who else is here. Michael says I'm the most dateable guy in PV. Vamos por el pan, Michael. Let's go get the bread. That's what we say here in Mexico when it's time to flirt. You know, guys ask the women that work in houses, it's like, what time are you going out to go get the bread at the panaderia, which is an excuse to go for a walk together. So that's a friendly flirt. Back to you. Good morning, Eric. Always great to see you because you're our sounding board as far as real estate things are concerned. We always appreciate that as a developer, you always have your own interesting points of view to contribute whenever we have questions about the real estate industry. And I am looking forward to getting together at some point with you and just having a sit down so we can all have specific questions lined up and learn more about how the whole industry works and what we can expect to happen in our city in the coming months and years. Tricia, it was great to spend some time with you and Mike yesterday. It was so wonderful. And every time I see Tricia, who, as you know, runs the most successful Puerto Vallarta-based Yahoo Facebook group here in town, it is always humbling to compare notes on people that, like myself, are in the spirit and the passion of sharing the best of our community with everyone who cares to find out more about what we do. And the amount of work, folks, that Tricia does to nurture her project is monumental. It's like, I bow in your general direction, dear friend, and it was great to compare notes with you yesterday afternoon. Flight directs from Canada are a good thing. Welcome back, Joe. Let's see. Oh, congratulations to Daryl, who closed on his new condo on Monday. One more way of becoming a Puerto Vallarta local. Thank you very much, Dan. We're going to continue with empathy and kindness and headlines and news because that's what we do here and that's what we enjoy. and we're very grateful that it is working, I feel it is working. Let's see what else. Let's see what else. So many good friends. So many good friends. Margaret, it's great to see you. Um, uh, Good morning, my dear Heather. It is great to see you. It is great to see everyone. And today we have all kinds of good news, interesting news, and heartwarming news. As always, we try to bring in a good combination of a little bit of everything. And of course, there's a first timer here, Silviano Blan. Welcome, welcome to Coffee and Headlines. May you find inspiration and humor and smiles and good ideas about Puerto Vallarta here. Feel free to chime in if you have any questions or comments. Because we're pretty much caught up with the welcome adventures, let me tell you that yesterday was a great day for me. I left the crock pot on in the house cooking while I went to run errands around the city, spent time with wonderful friends, went to a place that I hadn't been to since the pandemic, which is Los Muertos Brewing. And in fact, I took a little photo. Let me see if I can call it up. Um, Maybe I can, maybe I can't because I forgot to prepare it. Ah, there it is. So there is, of course, Los Muertos Brewing, which, as you know, started as a corner restaurant in Emiliano Zapata, and then Connor Watts, the owner, decided to expand to a second location and open a different restaurant there. But then COVID came, and of course, this has made it complicated. But it was very nice to be there. It was very good to spend some time with Connor and learn a little bit about his plans. His new space is very large with tall ceilings, so I never felt like I was in a confined space. I felt perfectly safe, and we were treated with every aspect of the protocol. So it is yet another restaurant that I am so very happy to recommend in case you haven't been. Gail comments about yes about this very sad passing of Maria O'Connor. We're going to talk about that briefly today. It will be impossible not to acknowledge that. Absolutely. So anyhow, let me get started. But not last but not least, let me just say hi to my dear future husband Carlos Bello, Papacito. Mwah. If I need anything from Guadalajara, just bring me good news from the city. Tráeme buenas noticias de Guadalajara because we love going to Guadalajara, and we love the idea of going back as we, enjoy our path through safety and recovery in this pandemic. Let us get started with the news then, and let's see what we have. Well, for starters, I want to let you know about a new hotel that is opening its doors for the first time this week. It's a brand new Holiday Inn located in front of Marina Vallarta. This would be the Holiday Inn and Suites, Puerto Vallarta, Marina, and Golf. That's the full name. I love it when they come up with very big names. This is the second Holiday Inn in the city. The other one is a Holiday Inn Express. This one has 171 rooms and suites, and it caters to family style tourism. Of course, we can be reminded at this point that they will likely be working with the 50% limit of capacity that the state has enforced for hotels at this point. But it is nice to see that in the middle of the pandemic, the hotel industry is finding a way to continue to move forward. I also want to let you know that this is something that we're going to expect to see more of in the coming months. Yet another demonstration about public access to the beaches. This happened in the Los Veneros beach in Punta de Mita, where the people that were manifesting were hoping to obtain free access to the beach as mandated by the latest change in law proclaimed by Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Needless to say, this business of access to the beach requires a little bit of explanation and requires some digging into the law. And I'd like to spend 2 minutes there only because I received all kinds of very interesting comments ever since we started talking about this. One of the interesting comments that I got, and it sounded silly, but it is very real. Somebody contacted me and said, "Well, what happens in places like the Hyatt Ziva Hotel south of Puerto Vallarta?" Well, the Hyatt Ziva, for those of you that don't know, is a hotel that is very strategically located in a small cove, such that the only way to access the beach is through the hotel itself, or if you access the beach by boat. So, what I answered to the person that asked the question was, well, if you hire a panga and arrive by boat to the beach, they cannot turn you away. But if in the middle of your outing at the beach, you decide that you want to use the loo, the hotel may or may not grant you that privilege because, of course, the hotel is a private property. But that begs the question, is it a good idea to like walk to the Westin or to the Marriott or to any beachfront hotel and say, pardon me, excuse me, I'm going to walk through your very private gate so that I can get to the beach because the law says that I can? Well, it's probably not a good idea to go about it that way. But I did go and look at the actual, let me bring it up. I looked at the actual Diario de la Federación, which is the official publication from the government when the law is changed. And this publication is what, in effect, makes it law. Now, the law that guarantees public access and free access to beaches consists of a lot of articles. I didn't read the entire law. The only thing that I read were the articles that were changed this past Wednesday. And of course, they're written in legalese, which is not my area of comfort. But I'm going to broadly translate that Article 8 tells us that access to the beaches everywhere cannot be inhibited or restricted, or obstacles can be placed unless the law says so. So there must be other entries on the law that says that there are exceptions to this. Then Article 127 says something really interesting. In the case in which there are no public accesses or accesses to the beach from the public way, the owners of land that is right against the maritime federal zone must allow free access to that zone along with the beaches through the accesses that are convened along with the Environment Secretary and the Natural Resources Secretary. So, what I understand that to mean is, again, you can't really walk to the Marriott hotel and say, let me in, because there's an access nearby. If you access the beach at Marina Vallarta or anywhere through any particular public access, and you find yourself perched right outside of a hotel, and the guards come to you and say, well, you are too close to our hotel in the beach, or on the beach rather, they cannot do that. But in the case of a place like Siva, or in the case of these beaches in Punta de Mita, the accesses to the beaches, and I'm trying to show some of these photos to you, the accesses to the beaches may be in private property, but they are right against the highway, and there is nothing between the highway and the private. There's nothing between the beach and the highway except for those private properties. So at some point they will have to make some kind of concessions for people to be able to access the beaches as prescribed by the federal law. And I suspect this is going to be something that is going to take some time to smooth out in places where the access is questionable. Fortunately, there's plenty of beach going on here in Banderas Bay, so it's not like we all have to get in a tizzy and decide that we all want to go to the Marriott or the Westin or any other hotel at this point. So hopefully this will continue to remedy itself slowly but steadily. Moving on to other things, we keep talking about the El Salado Estuary, this wonderful place, local place, where we have this very unique environment right in the middle of the city, and you can take trips through it and enjoy the view from within the estuary. This very sad bit of news makes me learn, unfortunately, that all the support that was promised by the federal government and by the state government has not arrived. As it turns out, all the employees at the estuary have been working without a salary for 7 months, according to this news item. They have not received all the resources that they expect and that they were promised. Here in this photo, we see Governor Enrique Alfaro along with Mayor Davalos. And the worst part of it is that I've just learned that they are not even authorized to do the boat tours that is their bread and butter because the government has said that it's too crowded on the boats, which is a bit ironic to me because the boats, of course, are out and about in the open. So hopefully they will find a solution to this, and hopefully by the fact that some members of the press are publishing these notes, the government will pay attention and will continue delivering on what they promised. Um, for those of you that are looking to fly, I have some interesting news from Yahoo. These are in English. The headline says, "Forget about that empty middle seat. Southwest Airlines to start filling planes in December." I don't know if this is the first or the only airline to do this. The news item then says American and United have been filling flights for months, with United executives calling blocked middle seats a marketing ploy rather than a safety measure. I am not to fly on a plane for business or pleasure in the near future, but I do wonder how that bit of news makes you feel at the prospect of flying. If any of you have been flying on a regular basis and you are watching, it might be comforting for others to learn of your experience if it was not as frightful as it may seem to some. So if you care to share some thoughts and comments, this would be largely appreciated, not only by me, but of course also by the rest of the community. Let me take a pause here because I see a couple of cues, as in cue questions, that are going by, or maybe I saw one. Let me take a quick look. I see some more praise for Los Muertos Brewing. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for that, Jaime. Yes, there is a branch of it that here in near Versalles on Francisco Villa Avenue that is going to be featured in my upcoming, and it's really upcoming, third part of my walk through Versalles, my restaurant walk, and it is a great place to sit. Let's see, there's another new person. Hello, Stefan Hoffmeyer from Alameda, California, MPV. One time I got lost on a beach in Nueva Vallarta and they wouldn't let me out to the street. Oh, that is terrible. That is terrible. Well, hopefully, again, that will no longer be the place. And this is good news. Welcome to Coffee and Headlines. Jeffrey asks, what if you go to the hotel and inform them that you'd like to patronize the bar and enjoy their beachfront? That is a decision that is made on a hotel by hotel basis. A lot of hotels offer day passes, and day passes are extremely wonderful for those of us that live here on a regular basis and don't have access to, say, a swimming pool, or we just want to have a day of pampering and TLC. There are some hotels that will allow you to do that. In fact, I remember when I first moved to Puerto Vallarta, the old Molino de Agua Hotel, where the towers are now, was a small traditional style hotel here in Puerto Vallarta where you could go and enjoy the pool simply by consuming something from their bar. And there are places that still allow for that to happen, Jeffrey. Boom, ba-dum, bam, bam. Kathleen chimes in on that notion. Thank you very much for that. And Catherine also chimes in on that notion. Thank you very much. That's Cheryl for the estuary employees. Would it help if all gave a generous tip? Well, from the article, I gather that they accept tips, and some of them are selling stuff. I don't know exactly it would take for me or for anyone to just go to the actual facility and find out exactly what's going on. I may try to do that at some point, but I don't want to make any promises. But let us hope that this is something that reopens and this is something that we can all enjoy. I've done it once before, the visit through the estuary, and it is absolutely fascinating and humbling to think that so much nature exists surrounded by so much city. Uh, do I know anything about the butterfly sanctuary here in Vallarta? Yes and no, Michael, before it is constantly recommended to me, and even yesterday it was recommended again to me by Trisha Lyman. Uh, I forget the name right now, but they have a Facebook page. I remember I liked it just yesterday or before. I will look for it and I will be happy to share more information when I find it, unless somebody happens to remember the name and shares it with us, Michael. And it was great to see you yesterday. I had dinner with Michael and his partner, and we had a lot of fun. And we were unexpectedly joined by Pam Thompson, who was picking up some takeout. And again, it was just unexpected and wonderful to bump into one of the most hardworking professionals in our city, certainly as far as our health and well being is concerned. Um, li la li la li la li la li la li. And I see some testimonials for flights. Thank you very much for sharing them. May those be inspiration and comfort for those people that are going to be flying. Um, Sandy asks, do you feel that you can distance yourself from others in the airport? Is everyone wearing masks? What I hear, Sandy, is that things at the airport are not as comfortable as everybody would like. I would think that if you're waiting in line and if there are people too close to you, you should be able to kindly ask people around you, hey, would you mind a little bit of space? But again, I have not personally been to the airport, so I'm not speaking from personal experience. All I can tell you is that if you're feeling anxiety, I hope it's not a huge amount of it. And I hope that you take good care of yourself and try to, create your own circle of safety wherever you go. Um, let's see. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay, I think we are at the end. Oh, there's another one. Who is responsible for the maintenance of the pier? It is in a sad state of disrepair. If you are referring to the Los Muertos pier, Jill, this is a shared responsibility between the federal government and the municipal government. And I think even the state government is involved. Unfortunately, the maintenance of the pier has been one of those finger pointing situations. And I agree with you. It is unfortunate that it is not as well kept as it could be. But I think the authorities are very well aware of that, and they're probably dealing with their priorities as best as possible. Let me go back to the headlines because we have still some things to cover here. Um, there is even more publications of this alleged mega project going on in front of Los Arcos, south of Puerto Vallarta, in Mismaloya. The same renderings that have been shared before are shared here. I've been reluctant to talk much about the specific renderings because, as part of their responsibility in reporting or lack of thereof, most of these sources have not listed the source of the rendering. Some people have hinted that came out of a specific website from a specific developer. But with all due respect, for the sake of credibility and transparency, we're not going to mention the names of any specific developer until we see it printed in official documents or in a credible headline. Although some people have volunteered some names to me in private, I don't feel it's right to just be calling names unless we have good backing on the source. But we do see that there is there is a law, which in Spanish is called ley. There is a law in which even if all you're building is a breakwater, you need to get authorization from a federal entity which is called Semarnat. So let us hope that if there is or there was an authorization to build those water breaks or breakwaters, that the authorization was obtained legally. And again, it's up to the developer or the people responsibility um, behind these projects. If you are innocent, if you've got your permits in order, just show yourself and show the permits, and then we can go on with our daily life. Moving right along, I want to report that as it's just as if we need more things to worry about, but I do want to bring this up because I think it's timely and it is important. To date, this year, 146 scorpion stings have been reported in 2020 in the state of Jalisco. And guess what? Puerto Vallarta and Colotlan are the two municipalities that have registered the highest number of these stings. Now, I have only seen one or two scorpions in Puerto Vallarta since I've lived here, but I know that they're around. They are around in certain places. You may or may not know this, but it is important to be careful with these bites. Not that you should lose any sleep over it, but in places like Yelapa, for example, if you go and spend the night and you enjoy to go rustic, it is often that the beds are suspended from the ceiling by ropes, and you sleep on swinging beds because of the fact that there are a lot of critters, walking through the night up on the ground. So it is important to keep this in mind. In case you are concerned about these critters, I will share this link that I got from the Mayo Clinic in the United States about what to do if a scorpion sting takes places. Even though a lot of people talk about anti-venom, according to this article, it more often than not, as far as you're a healthy adult, you don't have much to worry about. But just in case, I also identified a couple of articles. These come from Mex Experience, a very credible website. The first one has to do with scorpions and other things which can make you say ouch. And while I was exploring the website, I found this very useful big Mexico travel health guide that you may hold on to as part of your safety references while you're here. I'm going to share these bookmarks with you later on today so that we can all keep them in mind if it becomes necessary. Before we wrap up the important news, I do want to acknowledge the very sad passing of one of our own members of our community here in Puerto Vallarta. This would be the very sad loss of Mary Beth, known as Maria O'Connor, as announced by Wayne Franklin, her friend and business partner. Wayne informed that Maria suffered complications from an emergency surgery and passed Wednesday evening. Whether serving her clients or reveling in her friends, Maria lived her life with unyielding strength and enduring passion. Maria will be missed, but more importantly, she will be remembered. And I remember Maria very well. I remember my experiences even before I met her. I was editor at Vallarta Lifestyles, and she was regarded very, very highly in the office. She was difficult to corral when it came down to interviews, but she was a frequent contributor of articles to our publications. I remember one day, the first day I met her, I was taking photographs at Garbo, the very popular bar on Pulpito Street, and in walked this very nice lady who sat at the bar, and she was absolutely funny and delightful and jolly and full of spirit. We engaged in conversations, and then she identified herself as being Maria O'Connor. And I laughed so hard because my vision of Maria was this very, very important person and that should be treated with utmost respect and reverence. And she was the nicest lady one could ever meet. We were not close friends, but I always ran into her with lots of joy. And we were friends on Facebook. So it was always wonderful to see how much she enjoyed her life. May we all get to enjoy our lives as much as she did, and may we all be remembered as much as she will be. Let us now jump into the news. I'm sorry, into the weather. 27 degrees in Puerto Vallarta. It feels like 31. It is 81 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Humidity is still high, 81%. When will the weather turn? It could be any day now. We have a 10% chance of rain for today. And we learned that we may have some light rain during the morning. I certainly hope so. 10% possibility right now. We will have a high of 31 today. And tomorrow it will be humid and partly cloudy with a high of 32. And Sunday it will be humid through the day with a high of 32. Moving right along, let me very quickly continue with the headlines. Oh, this is good news. We reported a few weeks ago that the beautiful mural at City Hall that was painted by the very famous Puerto Vallarta painter Manuel Lepe was being restored by his daughter and a team of assistants after what I believe was 30 years of not being intervened or touched or preserved in any way. I think it was 30 years. I read this somewhere. And of course, this restoration was concluded, and this was celebrated with a small celebration at City Hall. And it is also important to note that the mural is based on an actual painting, which we can see here, which is property of the city. I don't know if the actual painting is on display, but if you happen to be right at the Malecon and at the main park, at the main plaza, all you have to do is walk into the City Hall building if you care to take a close look at this beautiful painting, this beautiful mural, rather, because it is such a nice piece of work. It's a nice work of art, rather, not a nice piece of work. Our mayor, Mayor Davalos, also took the opportunity to thank the daughter of the artist for all the interventions that she did along the Isla Rio Cuale bridge as you go into Emiliano Zapata. We talked about those as well. So, Marcela Lepe, thank you very much for your contributions to the city. Then I found this really awesome article on something that is very traditional around Day of the Dead. It is these pieces of thin paper. We call it papel picado in Spanish, but these pieces of paper that are cut out to show these wonderful illustrations. Now, the ones that are not real come from China, or the ones that are mass produced. But here in this article from Excelsior, I found these wonderful photographs. Let me see if I can show them, of a workshop. And this workshop is in Xochimilco in Mexico City, where a lot of artisans combine old techniques and new techniques to use cutting utensils and carve these very intricate patterns and illustrations on pieces of tissue paper. Here in this photo, you can actually see some of the utensils that they use to manually cut these pieces of paper. Now you will see them hanging in the city. Check out this one that shows an illustration of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Now they're commonly found around the city, made of plastic, or you find them when they have been cut through some kind of industrial process. And but the real deal is made by hand, and it's really something that belongs to collectors out there, because some of the most intricately carved ones or cut ones are truly beautiful. Moving right along, I have some interesting, hopefully good news from a website called Música en Mexico, where I frequently find interesting articles about what's going on with classical music performances here in our country. And we learned that the very first public concert at the Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City takes place today. It is a soloist gala featuring soloists from the Orchestra of Bellas Artes that are going to present a series of small ensemble pieces, which makes sense to keep the number of artists on the stage as slow as possible. And I am sure that they're going to use important measures so that there is enough distancing at the hall. I also held on to another headline about the same thing just because I saw this very fabulous photograph of the inside of Palacio de Bellas Artes, which where you can appreciate this one of a kind stained glass installation, one piece stained glass installation that we talked about a few days ago, that was designed by Tiffany in New York. And it was brought from New York by ship and it was installed here. And when one visits the hall and one is lucky enough to see that the curtain, because it's made of iron, is lowered and you can enjoy this magnificent piece of work, it is really a rare opportunity, but a truly, truly wonderful one. Lastly, I was happy to find out that the Jalisco Philharmonic is resuming its concert season. Alas, this is going to be only through televised performances, but it starts this Sunday with a series of Sunday concerts. I went to look at the programs at the website for the Philharmonic, and I will show you the link in the show notes. This includes a series of concerts that are going to be broadcast by Jalisco TV and can be enjoyed online. The first concert is going to be this Sunday at noon, and it includes works by Silvestre Revueltas and Jose Pablo Moncayo, two Mexican composers, but it also includes work by Jacques Ibert, a French composer, and Appalachian Spring by Copeland. So, and there's a second concert coming up in November, Dvorak, Grieg, and Tchaikovsky, and so forth. Needless to say, this makes me very happy because driving or taking the bus to Guadalajara to see these concerts is something that I used to enjoy very much before the pandemic, and I certainly hope that we will be able to continue to do that in the future. Let me take a quick look at your final comments and questions before we wrap this up and see what's going on. Linda comments, there's a lot of scorpions in Cabo Corrientes, absolutely. But ultimately, Linda, we need to remember that it was their territory before it was ours. And the best thing we can do is to be prepared with important information at our hands if we should have the misfortune of being stung by a scorpion. La la di la la, la la di la la. Let's see. Lynn asks, have the rains almost gone? Yes, we still get a few sprinkles here and there, but I honestly suspect that we survive hurricane season and that the rain season is over. Let's see. Julie rented a house for last weekend in San Sebastián del Oeste with friends. Tons of those spiders. Absolutely, Julie. I love to go to San Sebastián whenever I can. I hope you enjoyed your time there. Jeannie asks, where would we purchase this type of plastic flags, the papel picado that I described? Well, I've seen them at office supply stores, like, for example, Papelería Limón in Colonia Emiliano Zapata has them. You may find them at the Mercado where they sell crafts. You may find them at the Party Store that is located next to Soriana on Francisco Medina Asensio, next to Office Plus, Office Max, it's called. But those are the kinds of places where you may find them. Jorge asks, have I heard of the artisans in Querétaro making Catrinas for Day of the Dead? Yes, I have a thing about Catrinas, and I have my own personal collection. I have you can say I own a non-binary Katrina, or I'm well, my Katrina. I have to tell you the story of my Katrina that has boobs and a penis, and I have to explain that story. But I think that will be more suitable for Sunday Fun Day. Yes, I own a Katrina that has boobs and has a hidden penis under her skirt. It was a personal request of the author. of the creator, and I will share that story on Sunday. And I will show you my Katrina's penis on Sunday Fun Day. Thank you very much for that suggestion. No, you didn't suggest that, but thank you very much for planting that idea on my head. Um, this doesn't have a cue but looks important. Do you know if policies of bringing pets into the country have changed in Puerto Vallarta? Honestly, I don't. But this is a very good, very important question for many, Stephen. I sure hope that you will get some feedback from members of the community. If you don't, please drop me a note through the Coffee and Headlines page on Facebook, and I will be happy to look into it. I can't promise that I'll have a good answer for you, but I will certainly try. Let's see. La 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 la. Michael, I am going to be the person to take you to Guadalajara to enjoy classical music when it comes back. If you've never been, it will be my pleasure because I know that you are a huge promoter of the arts. And please know that it is so much fun to go to concerts in Guadalajara and bump into Puerto Vallarta friends there. Several of us do the pilgrimage, just like when I used to live in Boston and I used to go to New York for weekends. It was, a 5-hour trip, but sometimes the concerts were just worth it. Thank you very much for that suggestion, Jaime. I will definitely take a look. This is wonderful. Steve asks if Luna shares my love of music. Well, she likes it when I sing to her, and that's good enough for me. Raymond thinks Luna likes the Cats soundtrack, probably more than I do. I don't dislike it, but it's not one of my favorite. Uh, and yet another article that was suggested. Thank you very much, Christine. I will be so very happy to look at it once we're done with the broadcast, which is now. I think we've made it through another episode of Coffee and Headlines. I am very, very happy, as always, to share this time with you. I certainly hope that you found something that inspired you, that gave you good ideas, or that gave you things to think about. Sometimes we think about good things, and sometimes we think about not so good things. And with that thought in mind, I do not wish to be morbid in any way or any shape or form, but given the recent passing of a good friend to many, I'm going to ask you to consider this. Living here in Puerto Vallarta, if something unexpected happened to you, do your friends and loved ones have instructions on how to proceed? Do you have someone that has access to your keys? Do your friends have a good list of family members that can be reached in case of an emergency? I hate to bring this up, my dear friends, but sometimes we fail to think about these things. And it is important to think about them. It is responsible to ourselves and to those around us. I am in no way suggesting that our friend Maria was not prepared. Quite the contrary. It is because I am sure that as a competent and very successful lawyer, she has to have been one of the most prepared people I know. But let us do a favor to ourselves and to our loved ones, and let us, consider thinking about this and make sure that we are prepared and we love our friends by giving them enough information and resources to act in the very unfortunate case of an eventuality. But let's put that thought aside. The weekend is here. Give it some thought and just think about it. But for the rest of the weekend, have a good time. Stay happy, stay calm, stay hungry, go to restaurants, cook for yourself, and be kind, be patient, and stay in touch. Have a great day.